In front of me, I have roughly $500,000 worth of gold. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly why this gold is worth $500,000 by going through product by product, explaining the value of each. What I'm also going to do is look back and explain how much this stack has appreciated over the last 20 years. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Steph. I'm from alphaos.com. What we do is help people, businesses, and super funds invest over $50,000 into precious metals safely, securely, and more importantly, legally. I make these videos completely for free for everybody else because I believe every human on the planet should have at least some of their wealth inside of precious metals. So what exactly do I have in front of me? Well, every single item is 99.99% pure investment grade bullion. In this case, in Australia, stamped bullion that is completely pure is completely GST free, so we won't have to pay the 10% tax on top of that. In total, I have 91 ounces of gold, independent ounce bars. That's over 3 different types of products. The first product being inside the cases here, which is the 1 ounce Perth Mint Certicard. Now I have 72 of these. The bottom two here, these cases here have 50 each, and the top one has 22. I also have 5 Pamp Fortuna bars, minted bars in the Certicards as well. I also have 14 individual ounces loose, completely loose gold. They look beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. 14 loose ounces of gold. And then just to top it all off, make us have nice round $500,000 is this 100-gram bar, which right now, today's current market price is worth $17,000. For reference, that's how big my hand is. That little bar is worth $17,000. The entire pile in front of me is worth $500,000 at today's current market price of $5,300 an ounce. That's in Australian dollars for anybody watching overseas. So $500,000. And what you'll notice, the majority of the space that is being taken up is the packaging. It's not even the gold. If all 91 ounces in front of me were stood next to or were similar to these loose bars, this pile would take up even less space. That is how value dense gold is. Extremely value dense. So it's very common. The most common product that we see when we sell gold, especially, is in ounces. That's typically what I recommend to my clients purely because it's the most cost effective way. It's the cheapest on the way in and you get the full spot price on the way out. What you'll also notice is we've got 2 of the best brands on the planet. So Perth Mint and Pamp, they are internationally recognized, especially the Pamp. People actually pay a premium for these generic bars purely because they come from Pamp, Swiss, which is an absolutely wonderful brand. Perth Mint is also internationally recognized. I absolutely love the Perth Mint's products. Their quality control is absolutely insane. Their margin for error, especially for rare coins, is unfathomable. It's absolutely insane. If there's even a slight mark, a slight hairline scratch, they will reject the coin and remelt it back down. It's insanity, right? So the Perth Mint is internationally recognized. They're both very reputable brands. And then in front of me, I also have the 100-gram bar, which is a local brand. Realistically, for investors, brand doesn't really matter. As long as it's 99.99% pure bullion, which is what we test, which is what we do, brand really is actually irrelevant. I also have a bunch of local brands, one of them being CPG, which is an absolutely wonderful brand. These guys are fantastic, absolutely great dudes. They know their stuff and their quality control is also insane. So what's the difference between the different products here, other than being sized between this 100-gram bar? What's the difference between all of these ounces? Well, nothing. Typically, Pamp bars and minted bars. So minted means pressed, flat pressed. What you'll notice that these are nice pressed, regular, super precise bars. They typically cost more than their cast counterparts, cast being poured bars. So these are literally poured bars in front of me here. It doesn't really matter, to be brutally honest. It does not really matter. As long as it's an ounce of gold, it's stamped as an ounce of gold with a brand, which means it's GST free, and it's pure. That's pretty much it. You know, if you'd want a serialized number, because these in the Certicards, they have serial numbers, it's not necessarily important. It's not something we look at when bullion dealers are repurchasing the product. As long as it's 99.99% pure, it doesn't really matter. So what the value is the gold itself. That's what matters. Provided it's stamped and it's GST-free investment grade bullion, the brand is irrelevant. what we want to do is purchase as close to spot price as humanly possible. So, what I advise my clients, especially with silver, which is higher premium, kilogram bars of silver and then ounces of gold. If you're more comfortable buying the certicard options rather than the cast options here, that's perfectly fine. I have clients who would really prefer and sleep at night way better buying this option here. Totally understandable. Go ahead. But in terms of our goal as investors, we're here to invest in the metal itself. Your best bet is to go with cast or minted. In some cases, minted are the same price. Cast or minted ounces of gold and kilograms of silver, they are your best bet. So that's generally the gist. What I recommend with customers, if you go too large of a bar, you end up paying a smaller premium up front, but then you're exposed to a percentage premium when you go to sell the bar. Typically, with larger amounts of gold, like 100 grams and stuff like that, it's very difficult to find private buyers. For self managed super funds and companies, you need to find a proper buyer or a proper bullion dealer to buy it off you due to reporting requirements. It's up to you. It's really up to you. Don't overcomplicate it. We're here to invest in the metal itself. It's just absolutely insane how tiny this little stack is. This is $500,000. This is somebody's savings on an average wage for more than half a decade. That's just sitting in front of me. And the majority of it is just packaging. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So why do people actually buy gold anyway? It's pretty much just a pet rock. There's no real industrial use for it other than in very specific scenarios. Why do people buy it? Well, people buy it because it has held its value for thousands of years. The second main reason, it's a great store of value, point blank, period. That's the first great reason. The second great reason is that it is nobody else's liability. This is what I want to be known by. I shout at the rooftops when I say this stuff. I say it in every video because it's so important. It's very simple, but oftentimes in life, the simple things are the things that we should be focusing on, and it's the things that are the most important the majority of the time. Gold is nobody else's liability. What that means is that nobody can go bankrupt. Nobody owes me the gold, right? Especially if I've got it in my own personal possession, like I do right now. Nobody owes me the gold. I cannot lose it. Nobody can go bankrupt and I've lost my gold. It's not like debt. It's not like a share of a company that could eventually go bankrupt. It's not like the currency itself, because the currency itself is debt. It's printed and loaned into existence, right? And eventually, like all other things, it fails because humans fail. Gold is nobody else's liability. It was made by God Himself to be used as money. Quite literally, point blank, period. This is the biggest benefit of why gold is so heavily invested in the world economy, especially by governments and especially by central banks. Central banks literally print money that's worthless to buy real money. It's one of the greatest ruses in human history. Absolutely crazy. Commercial banks used to store gold and silver and then hand out receipts to the people that just delivered the gold and silver to them so that those were redeemable for gold and silver, but for that amount of gold and silver. Eventually, people began trading those receipts, and those receipts became the money that we know today. And the bankers and the people in charge created a crisis, and then they cut off its convertibility purely because they could loan more of that money or loan more of those notes into existence and then charge interest for it. Brilliant strategy, not great for everybody else, but brilliant strategy. It's not promised by anybody. This is why people buy it. Central banks buy it because they can't get sanctioned and they lose their gold. They store their gold at the central bank, it's theirs, and they can trade for it because everybody on the planet knows that gold is valuable. Everybody on the planet. Only the most stupid people on the planet would walk past gold and not realize it's valuable. But the majority of people are now so ignorant, I wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, since gold is such a great store of value, what we've seen recently, especially in the recent years, in the last, say, 5 years, gold's price has absolutely ballooned, especially after that pandemic we can't talk about. It's ballooned purely because they have created so many receipts, currency, the notes and the deposits in our bank accounts. They loan them into existence because people, stopped going out in the economy and they needed an excuse to print money, basically. Gold's price has therefore increased, not because gold has become more valuable. Gold is no more useful than it was other than some forms of technology, than it was 5,000 years ago. It's a pet rock, right? Let's be brutally honest here. It's a pet rock, but it holds its value. So when we see the price charts of gold going up, 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 and up, I'll put the price chart on the screen right now. Look how insane this chart looks. It's fucking ridiculous. Pardon my French. It looks ridiculous, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. In the last 20 years, gold's price has ballooned from $700 an ounce Australian to over 5,300 in the last 20 years, right? Absolutely insane. Not because gold is more valuable. It is no more valuable than what it was 20 years ago. What has happened is that the currency is less valuable. So, how do we tell if something's or the currency has become less valuable? You look at gold because gold has done nothing. Because these 91 ounces of gold and this 100-gram bar of gold will remain 91 ounces of gold and then 100 grams of gold for the end of time. If nobody touches them, nobody melts them down, these will remain the exact same. Whereas the currency is being printed and printed and printed and printed constantly, and they have to print it at a growing rate because it's exponential, because interest is compounding. They need to print more and more, and they will not stop. They will throw you under the bus and make sure that you pay for their stupid mistakes. And by them, I mean the people in charge that are really running the world, whether it's by on purpose or not. I think it's by on purpose, and this destruction is by design because the system is designed to indebt and enslave people. Gold, which is what our currencies used to be based off of, what it used to be pegged off of, what notes used to actually mean, it was literally redeemable for gold, are no longer redeemable for gold because it allows the bankers and the people in charge to print more money and then charge more interest just so they can make more money. It's as simple as that. It's quite literally as simple as that, and they could not care less what happens to you. Look at the price of housing. Look at the price of normal goods and services. In the last 100 years, it's been absolutely insane. Prices have increased, especially in recent years, so much. And I promise you, with the bottom of my soul, it will not stop. It will not stop. Ugh, scared the shit out of me. It will not stop. They will keep printing money. It will not stop. So gold is a great way, which some of them have fallen down. Gold is a great way to preserve and protect your wealth in a way that it is nobody else's liability. It's absolutely fantastic. This is why central banks have been buying every ounce they can possibly get their hands on. I 100% reckon the East, China, India, all of these countries are not reporting how much they're buying. They're purposefully concealing it because deep down, all of the Eastern countries know, they understand how the world works a lot better than we do in the West, especially with our Western governments who are unbelievably stupid. Pisses me off so much because they're running things so badly. They understand, the East understands the value of gold and silver, and they understand that whoever has the most gold gets to decide the rules. So if we, as individual sovereign people, as real people, real humans, not numbers on a screen, right, that they believe that you are, just some debt slave they can use. If we want to take our wealth into our own hands, what do? We quite literally buy it and hold it in our hands. You can quite literally buy it and hold it. This is mine now, right? This is mine. Nobody can take this from me unless it's by force, and then we've got bigger problems to worry about. But in general, by and large, they don't need your gold anymore to print more money. So they're not going to take it from you. Take your wealth into your own hands, buy gold, buy silver, which I've got all around me, buy stuff that is physical, that is nobody else's liability. You don't have to put your whole bloody life savings into it. I just believe that it would be rational. A rational human being would want to purchase something that is not based on anything, not based on any financial obligation by somebody else. It's an asset that holds its wealth, that holds its value for thousands of years and has done so. It hasn't stopped. It's done the same thing over and over again. Which is be the exact same. It has been the exact same for thousands of years. And in a crazy world that is always changing, in a crazy world with people who are running it to the ground, you want something that will hold its value and stay the same. Something that is timeless, something that is true, something that is unbiased, something that cannot be printed out of nothing. And that is gold and silver. How has it held its value so well over the last 20 years? We can detect this by the increase in gold price, as I mentioned before. Right now, with a price of 5,300 Australian dollars per ounce, each individual ounce of these little ones here, these ounces here, in the certificates or each individual ounce in these boxes here are worth 5,300 Australian dollars using current market prices. Right now it's June 14th of the 6th. So 14th of the 6th, 2025, right now. That's the current date. I may not post this on that date, but that's the current date as I'm recording this. In total, 91 ounces and one 100 gram bar, which is worth 17 grand. That's roughly $500,000 or $500,000. 1 year ago, gold spot price in 1 year was $3,500. So in 1 year, gold's price has gone from $3,500 all the way up to 5,300 in Australian dollars. Gold hasn't changed, the dollar's gone down, and by a lot. This total stack in front of me, had you bought it a year ago, you would have paid $330,000. So you've made $170,000. You've made $170,000. What you've actually done is you've prevented the purchasing power loss of $170,000. Hilariously, mostly packaging, it would have cost you $330,000, which is still a lot of money. 3 years ago, gold's price per ounce was $2,500. So in 3 years, we've more than doubled in price. In real terms, you've lost half of your purchasing power, which is not that great because obviously gold has not changed. So the stack in front of me, these 91 ounces in this 100 gram bar, would have been worth $235,000. Had you bought 3 years ago this amount of gold, right, this tiny little amount of gold in front of me, which is mostly packaging, you would have more than doubled your money. You know, the best time to buy gold was 20 or 100 years ago. The second best time is right now because I can guarantee you they're not going to stop printing money. 3 years ago, you could have purchased this stack for $235,000. 10 years ago, so exactly 10 years ago, an ounce of gold costed $1,500. The total value of this stack in front of me at that $1,500 price is about $140,000. So 10 years ago, you would have purchased this for $140,000. Right now, if you just held it and did nothing, you'd have $500,000. Not that bad. Not that bad at all. Not because you're making money. Again, we're not making money. We're just buying something that's holding its value. We're just preventing the loss of our purchasing power. We're essentially cashing the chips. We're calling bullshit on the entire thing. That's what we're doing when we buy gold and silver. 20 years ago, this is absolutely insanity. 20 years ago, an ounce of gold, as I mentioned before, was 700 Australian dollars. Each individual ounce here and each individual ounce in these certificate boxes would have costed you $700, which is still a hefty sum of money for an ounce of gold. I'd gladly pay $700 now for an ounce of gold, that's for sure. This entire stack at $700, including the 100 gram bar, which is now worth $17,000, would be worth $66,000. So 20 years ago, if you had have bought gold, this amount of gold, right, you would have paid $66,000, and today, currently, in today's current market price, you'd have $500,000 that you could sell instantly for cash. You'd be able to realize this in terms of cash immediately. It's a great way to store and protect your wealth. And the good thing is that you can transfer between the currency that we use today, the money that people think is money, which isn't. It's just currency. It's debt. You can transfer in and out of those gold and silver and the cash very easily. Not a bad performance in 20 years from $66,000 to $500,000. Again, I want to reiterate because this is very important. You need to set the correct mindset when investing in this. I know it's a joke now, mindset, but you need to have the correct expectations. That's probably a better word. The correct expectations when investing in metals. We're not investing in gold and silver to make money. That's not what we're doing, right? Silver is negotiable because it's extremely undervalued and it's an actual useful metal. But gold, especially, we buy gold because it's honest, it's true, and it holds its value, not because it's going to appreciate in value. What's going on, as I mentioned before, what's going on is that the dollar itself is losing value. It's as simple as that. Purely because there are now more dollars in circulation than there was 20 years ago. The supply of gold has increased because people are mining it, but it hasn't increased as much. It's a great way to store your wealth. It cannot be printed. It cannot be faked. We can test it immediately. We've got a $40,000 tester that we use to test every ounce of gold and silver that comes through this door. So we test everything. It cannot be faked. It will get spotted. They haven't found a way yet anyways. They do it atom by atom at the Hadron Collider or whatever it is, but they cannot just make gold out of nothing. It literally is forged in the heart of stars. There's no massive supply of gold coming anytime soon. So it's an absolutely fantastic way to store your wealth in something that I believe was created for that exact purpose. Another important thing that we need to consider, especially when investing between gold and silver and precious metals, is the size. Gold is extremely value dense. Bad news is it's very easy to lose. The good news is that it's incredibly easy to store. I could grab those 14 ounces and put them in my pocket and go straight on a plane, no problem. Put them in a backpack. This entire $500,000 worth of stuff, especially if I take them out of the packaging, could very well easily fit into my backpack or even a small pocket in my backpack, right? It's incredibly easy to store. This is one of the major factors that the clients that come in and that what I recommend my clients consider, because investing between gold and silver will play, especially with large quantities of money, the size will play a large role in which one to invest in. Typically, it costs way more to store silver. For reference, actually, let me go grab one. For reference, this is a kilogram of silver. It's about $1,900. I can't believe that. I was buying silver for under 1,000 back in the day. This is a kilogram of silver. You can tell that this kilogram of silver is a lot larger than these ounces of gold, and it's about a third of the price right now. So it's about a third of the price. This is something you'll need to consider when buying large amounts of precious metals just because of storage. Very well easily, people and clients have invested 400, 500, 1,000 kilos into silver. Very common. It's surprisingly more common than you think. And what you'll notice is the costs do increase, especially when you invest more in silver. I believe silver is more undervalued and it has some actual utility into technology. Obviously, it's going to cost more to store because it's larger and it's heavier. It's a pain in the ass to drop down the vault as well. I'll tell you that one. So I hope that that video was helpful in helping you visualize how much $500,000 of gold specifically actually is. If you'd like to invest over $50,000 into precious metals, head to alatheos.com. For everybody else, I hope that this was an eye-opener, especially with how much this used to cost over the last 20 years. And I hope it inspires you to invest at least some of your money in precious metals, because I, again, believe every single human on the planet should have some. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will catch you later. Enjoy the rest of your week.